Okay, it's 12:10. Thank you for joining us. I'm Kathy Koloff from IT Radix. I hope you're enjoying yourself on this nice day. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about Microsoft Edge and how to maximize your browsing experience. Throughout the webinar, if you have any questions, if you just want to raise your hand through the reactions, we will, or type them into the chat. I have a couple of my IT Radix colleagues on the call with me to help moderate. We have Dan, and who's hiding behind the black screen today. We have Ken and Anthony and Doug, all from IT Radix, and the rest of you folks, we're really glad you were able to join us. So with no further ado, we'll get started. So Microsoft Edge was the browser that was introduced with Windows 10, and it is built, they've revamped it and built it on the Chromium engine, which think of it like your car, you know, there's different engine, the same engine in a different car, but basically Microsoft took the Chromium engine and made it their own. And I'm going to talk to you about a few of the things that they did to make it special from a Microsoft standpoint today. So the first ones that I wanted to talk about were around enhancing your machine performance. They have a concept of something called sleeping tabs, which if you're like me, I have 20, 30 tabs open at any one time. And what you can do is it will automatically put a tab that I'm not actively using to sleep, and therefore free up the CPU and RAM and give that back to the computer for other things that I might actively be working on. The other thing you can do is you can put it into efficiency mode, which will also save CPU and RAM. But if you're running on a laptop, which I often am, it will also save some of the battery life. So the next thing I was going to just talk about, I'll introduce the concepts, and then I'm going to actually go do a demo because I think that's where people really see the magic of Microsoft Edge. Is there's a lot of features that they introduced to help increase your productivity. There's the concept of collections, vertical tabs, tab groups, PDFs, immersive reader, and read aloud. I'm going to demo each one of these, but the basic idea behind the first few is that they help you organize your browsing. Okay, the next ones allow you to edit PDFs, which is a neat little feature inside of Edge. And then the last two are to make it a little more accessible and perhaps improve some of your focus. So with that, I'm going to minimize this and I'm going to bring up Microsoft Edge. So the first thing I'll point out is it's this little blue and green swirly icon. Most of you probably already have it on your computer. You notice I pinned it to the bottom. Edge happens to be my favorite browser. And actually, before we get started, I'm going to launch a quick little poll to keep you guys engaged. So the question is what is your favorite web browser of choice? So if you could see that poll here, if you want to just go ahead and click in your answers, I think a lot of you already have. Looks like most are using Chrome. So I'm hoping what I could do is show you some things today that might make you a little more inclined to give Edge a try and hopefully improve your productivity. So I'm going to end the poll and take this out of my way. So I believe all of you can see the Microsoft Edge screen. So some of the things I wanted to point out here is you'll notice in the upper right-hand corner, you see my little icon there. Just like you would log into your Microsoft machine, you can log into Microsoft Edge. If you have multiple devices or multiple machines that you use, you can, if by logging in, it can sync your work across multiple devices. So that is a super productivity enhancement. If like myself, I have a laptop and a desktop. If I start browsing on my laptop, I get back to the office and I start working on my desktop. The things that I was browsing and looking at on my laptop are fully accessible to me automatically through the beauty of the cloud on my desktop. So that's number one. The next thing I was going to mention is a lot of people like to customize this startup page. You can put things like the weather in here. If you have favorite websites that you like to go to a lot, when you open a new tab, this is the page that comes up. Just by hitting the plus sign here, you can add some of your favorite sites to this. So the sleep mode, I mentioned that just briefly in the overview. If you look across the top, some of the icons are a little grayed out, and like this one way over here on the far right is a little brighter. That's because the one on the right I have actively used. The rest of these I opened yesterday, and I intentionally let them go to sleep, so they're all in sleep mode. This one here from the Disney is also awake, and the idea is that if you go to a particular page, it, it pops right up. It's sleeping, it's saving resources, but I still have, I don't know, what is this, about 15 to 20 tabs open. The way you would, if you wanted to change this, maybe you didn't want it to go to sleep within an hour, or maybe you wanted it to be, faster. You could click on the little settings icon up here under the 3 ellipses, and then you choose settings, which will then open in a web browser page, which is maybe a little different than you're used to seeing things pop up. And then if you go down to system and performance, there's some settings in here that you can change. If you don't want it to sleep the tabs, you can toggle that off. If you wanted to put them to sleep sooner or later, you can change it here. And you can also adjust the battery power settings right here under settings. The next thing I wanted to point out was this concept of a sidebar. So if you look at this, this is all about trying to maximize your real estate and make you more productive on your screen. So if you look on the right-hand side of my web browser screen, they have this concept of a sidebar. You can slide it away, you can hide it down here in the lower corner, you can hide it, or you can pop it back out. And what you can do here, it's similar to having that favorites bar across the top, but you can actually favorite websites over here, which will then just launch you straight into a website. If you click on it, like I favorited Outlook for the account that I'm logged into. I'm on a demo account, by the way. So this is not my real email. And you'll notice that it opened up Outlook in a little sidebar in the web browser. This is the web-based version of Outlook, but you could open up iTunes or anything you want here, and it opens it in the sidebar. So that's the sidebar. So if you're like me, I open a lot of browsers, and sometimes I lose track of where they are. So if you click on this little icon in the upper left corner, the tab action menu, you'll notice I'm going to cover this in a minute, the vertical tabs, but I wanted to highlight on the search tabs. If you click on search tabs, then you can type in a keyword and it'll search the tabs that you currently have open and look for what you're looking for. And take you straight to what you're looking for. The next thing I wanted to mention was collections. So the concept of collections is, let's say that you have a number of websites that are related and you want to kind of remember them for the future. So you can get into collections from this little icon over in the upper right-hand corner, right near your account icon. So if you click on collections, I've already pre-created one. And you notice I gave it a title, Wonderful World of Disney. If I click on it, I have saved 4 pages that are all related to the Wonderful World of Disney that I had previously searched up. If I wanted to add a new page, you can just quickly click on things called right here where it says add a new page. But also some nice things inside of the collections. You see this little sticky note here. If you wanted to create a note about the collection, this is at the top level, so this is info about Disney. You can save that here. So now you have a little note about the collection. You can also put notes on individual pages just by clicking on the page and then right-clicking and saying add a note. And it's a similar concept, but now it puts the note right under the website that you're taking notes for. So I'm just going to put a sample one in here so you can see what it looks like. So with collections, you can have a boatload of pages in here. I don't actually know what the limit is, but it is a lot because I have a few where I've been doing some research and I have lots and lots of them selected. If you want to take a website out of the collection, you just click on the page that you want to remove and you hit the trash can. So I'm going to go back and show you. This is how collections look. If you want to free up that real estate so that you can continue working in Edge, you just close the collections and here you are. So the next thing I wanted to show you was the vertical tabs. So right now these are all across the top horizontal, and sometimes it's, once you start to fill across the top, you start to having to scroll left to right. I like to work this way, which is you turn on the vertical tabs. If you watch, the tabs are no longer across the top. They're now going down the left-hand side. So I can easily see, more of what the description of what the tab has open. I could also shrink it right here so I get my real estate back and I'm back to the full page. If I want to keep the vertical tab pane there, you click on the pin and it pins the page. So what I'm going to show you next is I'm going to just bring up a few of these pages. So I did some research on museums. I was doing a little bit of research on museums. And so these are all the pages that I found. So now I want to keep them together. I want to keep them open right now. So what I'm going to do for right now is I'm just going to organize them into what's called tab groups. So I'm going to click and hold on the Thomas Edison one. I'm going to drag it up to the Morgan Library, sort of lay it over top of it. Okay. And then I'm going to let go. And now I can give it a name. And what it's going to do is group these all together in a group. And so now they're called museums. So I'm going to just throw Liberty Science in here as well. And now I've got, so I've got all of these pages in here. So you can see it's just easy enough. You just click, hold, drag it up there. Now I've got 4 tabs inside of this group. If I hit this little down arrow, it shrinks it up. And you can see that now it's freed up all the space over here, so I can see the rest of the tabs that I have open, and I can easily, organize and group things together. So I have a number of them here that are about sports, college basketball. I can just click and drag them here, and I'm going to just call this one basketball. If I can spell right while I'm typing and talking. And it's super convenient because now you can have multiple tabs open, and because of the performance enhancements of where they're sleeping, you don't have to worry about tying up resources on your machine. All right, so I'm talking really fast. So I'm going to show you one more thing here that I really like. So this is a PDF. This is a PDF that I found on the web. You can do this trick also with PDFs that are on your machine, because you can come in here and file open a machine inside a PDF inside of Edge. And you can use this as a PDF markup editor. It is not going to let me edit the text inside of the PDF, but it is going to allow me to mark it up. So I'm going to just pick the highlighter as an example. So maybe I want to highlight this and call it to somebody's attention. I can use this PDF editor here, just hit highlight, and then it will highlight the text that I've done. You can type text in here like, read this, or, to call people's attention to it. You can format the text inside of here as well. So it's a markup of the PDF. It is not a PDF editor, but it is a super handy tool if you have some simple things that you're wanting to mark up and call people's attention to. I happen to have a stylus on my computer, so the draw I like because I can just write right on it, and it's my handwriting. So if I wanted to say, look here, I can circle and do things very easily inside of this PDF editor. And then once I've marked it up, you can see I can print it, I can save it. I can save it as a marked up PDF. It'll let me save it as a new PDF. So there's a lot of things you can do inside of this little edit PDF inside of Edge. The next thing I wanted to show you inside of Edge is if you look at some of these pages, I got to find the one that had all the noise on it. Lots of advertising on this page, right? It's a great page. There's another one here. Some of them have it, some of them don't. What I'm looking for is something called Immersive Reader. And I'm trying to remember which page I had open that was a great example of this. So let's let this come up. What you need is a page. What it will do is if it's a page with a story, where it's telling a story, like where it has text. I had it earlier and now I've got so many tabs open, I lose track. Let's see. Maybe I closed it yesterday. They have this concept of an immersive reader. So let me see if I can find something that will have an immersive reader. One of my favorite websites is Forbes. They have lots of ads though. When you click into one of their pages and you read one of their articles, there's ads. And then it brings up a little book up here, which boy, here it is. There you go. See the immersive reader right there? So if you look at this page, I'm going to accept the cookies. If you look at this page, I'll give it a second. There's lots of advertising. There's things in here. If you click on Immersive Reader, which is this little icon up here on the bar where the URL is, if you click on it, it takes out all the ads. So it's super helpful if you're reading an article, if you've ever been on those websites where they'll have a little bit of text and then there's an ad and there's a little bit of text. This immersive reader is super helpful for getting the noise out and really honing in and focusing. And the other thing you'll notice is they have some reading preferences in here. You can actually read this aloud. I'm not going to demo that today because it won't pass through. But if you click on the read aloud, it'll start reading the page to you, and you could step away from your desk and hear everything like it's an Audible book. So all of these things built in for free in Microsoft Edge. I'm going to take it out of immersive reader mode. It's a toggle. You turn it on, you turn it off. You notice that it sort of turns into a yellow, on my screen, it's kind of a yellowish background. But the immersive reader is a super handy tool. If you're doing any kind of web research, you want to copy and paste or grab some text, but you don't want all that crazy advertising in the materials. So with that, I am at a little over 10 minutes, I think, but I hope you got something useful out of this. Are there any questions? All right, I'm going to pause here then and say thank you for participating and have a nice day. Thank you.